Economists study supply and demand relationship for years. And then we can summarize what they found in this small picture, guys. If you look at the right-hand side, if the price rises, on the other side, right, the demand will fall and then supply will rise. So we can summarize this as a first rule, our first rule. But on the other hand, if you look at right the red part, if the price falls, right, the demand will rise and then supply will fall. That's what they say. And today we're gonna try to find an equation for the supply and then demand part. Of course, there are some other effects, okay, besides the quantity and price affecting the supply and then demand relationship in practice, but in theory, okay, we're gonna simplify them, and then as a convention, okay, we will assume that they are gonna be linear, okay? Since the simplest way to study these relationships is to make the linear assumption. As you see, okay, in the second graph, okay, like the soap or in these days, right, the hand sanitizer are in demand, right? So we can just think about, right, the relationship is linear, okay, to simplify our process. So we will represent the quantity by this letter, quantity, and the price will be P. Now, since we said that, right, they're gonna be in linear relationship, so I can write it down in this way. The demand function, right, will be the function of, right, the quantity. So I can just assume that AQ plus B, right? As you see, this is a linear equation. It was a linear equation, but since now I'm just going to represent by a function, so I'm trying to, right, to create a relationship between these two variables. As you see from the graph, I have another line here, right, for the supply part. It is also linear, right? I can just say this is the supply function, which will give you the price, right, depending on the quantity. And this is going to be my supply function as well. So you can just use, right, the some coefficients here. We are going to see in the example, okay, they will be given to us. Of course, it is not easy to get, okay, these functions, but since we assume that they are going to be linear, right, so at least, okay, we simplified them, but in practice, okay, these are not easy to figure out. So since they are linear, right, we know all the features of the linear functions, and then we can study on these. If you look at the soap demand, right, from here, as the price increase, right, as you see, demand amount is, right, the less than these amounts, as you see, right. If the price drops, as you see, demand will increase. So you can observe, okay, what we said here. So you can observe the same thing on this graph, okay, what these two rules says. If you notice that we have, right, an intersection point here, this is called equilibrium point. Everything is going to be in balance, okay? Supply and then demand will in balance, so there's not going to be any problem, okay, for economists. But this is just in theory. In the practice, of course, there's not going to be, there will be some situations, of course, sometimes there will be some situations, everything is going to be in the balance, but this is just, okay, today picture. Everything will change, okay, tomorrow, since everything fluctuates, and then demand will change, supply will change, and then nobody knows, okay, when they will be in the balance. But in theory, if it is in the balance, okay, the part, right, above this line is gonna be the surplus, since this time, right, you will have the more quantity, and the below this part, right, the quantity will be in shortage, guys. Okay, that's what the economist calls, okay, this situation. So that's why, okay, the equilibrium point is going to be important, okay, so that you can decide to buy or to sell some goods or to produce some goods. That's why, okay, the manufacturers or the suppliers, okay, they need to know at least, okay, how much quantity in the market or what is the price in the market to decide, okay, if they want to produce or if they want to sell the goods they have. Let's solve an example, which I took from our book, guys. So what it says, suppose the demand and price for strawberries are related by the function. Okay, this is my demand function. So if I look at my demand function is this one, and then I will draw, okay, this function in the plane, following the techniques I have learned, okay? So what you can do, you can just give q is equals 0 and then find the p, which is equal 5, right? As you see here, right? This is your 5. And then you can do the other way around, right? P is equal 0, and then you can find Q is equal 20. So look at here, right? I just drew it. And if you look at your supply function, which is given below, right? This is your supply function, and this is going to be the, right, this function, the green function, and then you can follow the same idea. So what I would like to do, right, I would like to produce some values for different, right, the quantities, and then I want to determine, right, the price for the demand. So what would be the price, right, in case this quantity, if I have, right, this quantity in the market, right, what price I should pay, right, to buy that commodities. So look at that for the, right, for the demand part. So this is my demand function, which is equal 5 minus 0.25 q. So if the, right, the quantity is 0, if the quantity is 0, of course the price will be, right, if there is no quantity here, right, the price will be equal 5. How am I going to find out? As you know, right, these are the values I need to substitute here. When the q is 0 equal, right, the 5 minus 0.25 times 0, which is going to be equal 5. So I need to pay, right, the $5. So that's the beginning price. If there are, right, the 400 quarts, which we will just rate to say that this is a 4Q, yeah, we are going to represent in hundredths. So price will be equal, D of 4. Now I need to use the 4, right, with respect to my quantity. So 25 times 4, which is going to give me, right, the 4. So price is going to be $4 in this case. But on the other hand, if I would like to figure out if the price, right, is this in the market, right, how many strawberries would be in the market. So again, this time I'm gonna be figuring out what the Q is gonna be, right? D of Q, which is equal 5 minus 25 Q. If you solve this linear equation, right, as we have seen in the reference section, it's gonna be negative 0.5 if you move, right, the 5 to the other side, which is equal negative 25Q. So Q is gonna be equal to 2 quarts. So which it is given, right, in hundreds, so that's why it is gonna be 200 quarts. So you can just say, right, since you found the Q is equal to, that's gonna be 200 quarts. Okay, for the supply part, we can do the similar examples. Let me just show you one of them. So if the price for the, right, the supply part is $2, what would be the supply amount, right? So P is equal to, and I'm trying to figure out what will be the quantity, right, in supply part. So supply function was equal 0.25 Q. Now, if I solve this linear equation, that would give me, right, 8. So that would be 8 quarts in the market. 800 quarts, right, strawberries would be in the market if you keep, right, the price at $2. So the last problem, what would be the equilibrium point, right? And what would be the price and the quantity, right, at that point? The thing you should know, right, at the equilibrium point, since they intersect, they need to be equal to each other. So supply function and then demand function, right, they intersect each other, right, at that point. That's why they need to be equal. So if I make these functions equal to each other, look at that, on one side, on this side, let me put in on this side, supply function is equal, right, the point 27Q, sorry, 25Q, 25Q, and demand function was equal 5 minus 25. If you solve for Q, 25Q would be equal to 5 from the equation, and then Q would be equal 10. So for the amount of Q, right, you need to figure out the price using any of these functions, either supply or the demand function, that would give you the price. So under, right, the 10, which is 1,000 strawberries quarts, right, you can figure out what would be the right price. So as you see, that would be the 2.5. So the equilibrium, at the equilibrium point, right, the price would be equal to $2.5, guys.